everybody. Welcome back. It's CW, it's Rita, and first off, we want to thank all of our new listeners, and welcome back our older listeners. Not that you're old, but you've just been with us for a while. If this is your first episode, you are in for a real treat.
Indeed. We're going to feature and talk about Triumph, a band that was formed in Toronto, Ontario in 1975 after a chance meeting led Rik Emmett, Mike Levine, and Gil Moore to embark on a marathon jam session. They immediately decided to form the band, and the debut album, Triumph, was released in 1976 on Attic Records, with hits like Laid on the Line, Magic Power, and Never Surrender. The Canadian power trio stands out as visionaries with soaring melodies and exceptional songs with a positive perspective and outstanding live shows propelled by vocalist guitarist Rik Emmett, bass guitarist, keyboardist Mike Levine, and vocalist drummer Gil Moore to stardom.
It's been 30 years, yes, 30 years since the band last toured together. And now, original founder of the band, Gil Moore, joins us to talk about what it's like to reunite and get ready for this amazing upcoming tour. The band heads out to the East Coast in Canada very soon. And we want to kind of update you where we came in here because what was in retrograde on the day we did this?
Retrograde. Oh my God, it's been a doozy.
So everything that day was messing up, and it started with Rita and I are sitting waiting to do the interview, and we're sitting on Zoom, and Gil calls my phone and goes, "I thought this was a phoner." I said, "No, we have no way to do a phoner. We got to do it on Zoom." And he's like, "Can we do it later?" So we're like, "Okay, we'll set it up later." And somehow we got into the conversation of all the other shit that was happening with Mercury being in retrograde, including, what was your issue?
Oh, I had a major plumbing problem, from the back pool room house going out to the sewer, and they couldn't find the place, and it took 2 days to get that all taken care of, but they did. And you?
So we were recording on Tuesday. On Monday, I'd gotten a new crown in my mouth for my tooth. And I asked the dentist, I go, "What's this other thing here?" And the dentist goes and does an x-ray and finds out that there's an amazing, a big infection in a different tooth. So after getting a crown and a root canal, the day after, I then find out I have to get another root canal. So that's kind of what leads us into the beginning of the conversation that you'll hear. So we kind of pick up after our phone call, a couple hours later, and this is where we start. So please enjoy this interview with Triumph's original drummer, Gil Moore.
My plumber's from Hamilton, Ontario.
Well, that's me because I'm from Hamilton originally.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So you're not coming down to fix her plumbing, but you're going to work still on my my root canal?
I you know what? I wish I could do both, but there's only so much time in the day.
Come on.
This reminds me of one of my jokes about drummers. They're always saying to me, "Well, what's it like playing drums and playing and singing at the same time?" And I go, "It's like being an electrician and a plumber at the same time. Sooner or later, you're going to have your screwdriver in 240 volts, and you're going to grab the drain with the other hand, and then bad things are going to happen."
Oh my God. We are so pleased to have the co-founder, lead singer, and drummer of Triumph, Gil Moore, with us. It is such a pleasure to say hello to you and to talk with you, especially with such great news coming up on the 50th anniversary tour. That's got to be just so exciting for you.
Yeah, we're excited to get out there. Not half as excited as our kids, but we're excited.
Well, the kids are going to go with you this time, right?
Oh yeah, the kids are over the moon. They're going to be there and in fine form, and they're old enough now to actually appreciate what's going on.
Oh, that's going to be excellent.
Did any of them take after you?
Well, I would like to say yes, not as far as music is concerned. Like all of them had the opportunity to play drums, and that generally lasted one lesson, and then that was the end of it. But until recently, both my daughters had a half a set of my drums in each one of their gyms at their homes. And getting ready for this tour, I have 3 sets of drums going. I have one in my gym, one at Metalworks Studios and one at Metalworks Production Group. So we retrieved those drums. I had to repossess them from my daughters. You're not using them, so therefore Daddy's taking them back. They went on to do much more, better things actually than learn to play drums because Lauren is our CFO at Metalworks. He runs all of the financial end of all the companies, and my daughter Holly she's the head of marketing, and she's also a world champion cheerleader.
That's excellent.
Two-time world champion. Yeah, level 6 girls open division. So going down to try for a three-peat in Orlando when we're actually playing down there. She's going to be at the Wild World of Sports.
Oh my God.
Disney.
Bag another Super Bowl ring. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Do you get to go visit her?
I'm not going to get a chance this time. I've been to the World Championships more than once, in earlier years when they weren't successful. And the last couple of years when they won, I wasn't able to go. And this year, because I'm going to be with Triumph just around the corner, I don't know if we're going to be able to meet for a dinner or a breakfast or something, but I'm going to be tied up during the actual performances.
Yeah. So how excited are you to be back on the road? I mean, Triumph was always that band that you had to go see. I mean, you guys, even way back before you even became Triumph, you were the guy that said, oh, I got to have the loudest of this, the best of that, but by the blowtorch, and considering the way that technology has improved these days, I mean, you've just got to be giddy.
Yeah, the tech is off the charts now. And I've stayed in touch with our lighting director from back in the day, Paul Dexter, who I really take my hat off to. He's absolutely phenomenal, and he's just one of the best in the world. This company's called Masterworks Lighting out in LA. And we've been working for multiple years on some of the ideas that we're bringing forth on this tour. So, and we're going to roll them out over time. Like I think we may do a fall swing, so it'll change then. And a lot of the stuff that we've been experimenting with, we're going to get a chance to use right out of the gate on this tour, starting in Florida. So, I'm looking forward to all the tricks.
So we can expect lasers and a lot of effect. The torch, will the torch be part of this? The torch?
There are certain things that that Triumph did back in the day that are now considered to be, sort of malfeasance. So
I was wondering how you got that thing in a school auditorium and rip off.
Without a fire marshal.
I think the fire marshals are ICE or somebody might lock us up if we did what we did back in the day. So, but there is this newer, gentler, kinder style of pyro. And they've made machines now that do amazing things, and that in some cases are better than what we did back in the day, or they're similar to, or whatever. So all of that stuff will be, all that firepower will be there for sure. And in terms of the lighting and the video, if you think back to the 70s and the 80s, bands didn't have video, right? They really didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
We had projectors and screens, but no one really used them.
Mm-mm.
Now the video content is like part of the whole thing. And our stuff is not going to be gratuitous. Like I've seen a lot of bands with video content behind them, and I was like, it's not just like, this doesn't make any sense. It's not telling me anything about the music or your songs or your lyrics or whatever. It's just a bunch of flash thing, flotsam and jetsam. Whereas our content, Paul's working with the band. We're working on the songs, the lyrics, the narrative to the whole show, because our goal is to use Triumph's music to bring people together in these divisive times. So it's very important to us that theme is maintained in the visuals as well as what we do on stage and how we talk to the audience.
And you've always been a band that's been so into the audience. There's a great documentary that was released, I think, 6 years ago?
2019.
2019. And Triumph Rock and Roll Machine. And it's amazing how it focuses it kind of almost from the fans' point of view, but of you guys kind of getting together and bringing some fans in. It's on Prime if anybody wants to check it out. It's a great video.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years since you guys toured, which is incredible to me.
God,
like,
yeah, I know.
I don't know. It just blew me away that it's been that long. What came about that all of a sudden somebody said, I'm going to assume it was you. Somebody said, we need to go out and we need to do this. Whether this is the final time or we're going to kickstart the band up again or whatever.
It was a series of stepping stones, honestly. Like, I was totally sincere when I said I'm not going ever back out on the road. But again, if I trace the steps, I go right back to when the band stopped performing. So my father had passed away. My mom, who I love dearly, was, she was in her later years. And I'm an only child, so I was not going to leave my mother alone to fend for herself and be 3,000 miles away in some hotel room. So it's not worth it. I'm going to look. She raised me. She looked after me. It's the best mom anyone could ever have. I'm going to be there for her. So that was number one. Number two, I wanted to be with my kids and be there to raise them when they're little and, push them on wagons and tricycles and all that kind of stuff like my mom and dad did for me. So I was like, and I always I'm a behind the scenes guy. I'm not a spotlight guy. So I'm like, yeah, put me in the studio. I'll be fine. And I built up the studio to become a commercial operation and record all sorts of other artists that we've been lucky enough to record over the years. So that was really the plan. How did it change for me? I guess it started around 2008. The kids were getting a little older. We went in a couple Hall of Fames. And, we decided as a band, Mike and Rik and I said, you know what, let's play a gig to show our kids what we've got. So, and at this point, the kids are a little younger again, but so we called our agent. We said, okay, so, book a gig at a festival in Europe and book one in America, which they did. We went and played Sweden Rock and then came down to Dallas and played Rocklahoma, just north of Dallas there. And it was a blast, but it was just it wasn't meant to be a tour. It was 2 gigs. So we went and did those 2 things. The next time we played, you just mentioned it, 2019, the film director, that was their idea to have 150 super fans flown into Metalworks, put them in a warehouse, trick them with a kabuki drape so they didn't know we were there, and then flash like this, and all of a sudden the band's playing. That's why it was a really neat moment. I mean, most of them were crying. It was something else. So, but really, I guess the next stepping stone was we again said, well, we're not touring. So our label in America goes, well, if you're not touring, then we're going to release a tribute album. We went, okay, well, good luck with that. They get Mike Plank, who's like the best, biggest, badass rock and roll producer in the world. Mike agrees to do the project. He gets all the best singers from Nancy Wilson to Sebastian Bach to, Joey Belladonna and Larry Gowan and, Dean Castronova. I can't mention them all. It's just too many. All the best guitar players, starting with Bill X and Nita Strauss and, Slash and all these people. So that was another stepping stone. And then what really was odd is in Canada, when the National Hockey League playoffs started last year, and it looked like the Edmonton Oilers might win the Stanley Cup. Were it not for the Panthers, they would have. And so they're playing our music and all this stuff. So everyone is like, triumph, triumph, triumph at all the hockey thing. The hockey's getting more and more and more, fever pitch in Canada because it looked like, hey, we're going to win the Stanley Cup. So finally, Rogers, the big media company up here, said, would you guys consider coming out and playing? And I called Rik and I said, hey, I don't know if we can do this, but we're not ready or whatever. And we kind of kicked it around and said, hey, let's call Phil and see if he'll do it with us. So we called Phil. Phil goes, yeah, I'd love to do it. And then we went, okay, so Mike can't come. He's on with Eddie Trunk doing an interview. Plus he's got an appointment in Toronto that day because it was last minute. No problem. I'll bring Todd Kearns, he'll cover for Mike. And I said, okay, well, while you're at it, if you're going to bring Slash's band here, bring Brent Fiss, the drummer, because I haven't got time to practice. So we'll do double drummers. That'll be cool. So that's the final stepping stone, because what happened is when we did that gig and all of the, Live Nation people got to see us, they then just put this huge, you guys have to do this. Then our families find out about it. And then the kids kick in and go, come on, Dad. Because at that point I was still like, well, Rik's going to go do this. You don't need me. You got Rik, but I'm not doing it. And then they was like, no. It's you and Rik. It's you and Rik. And they just insisted on it. So I was put in the position of spoiling the whole thing if I didn't go along with it. So, but I'm very enthusiastic about it now because, Rik and I have been woodshedding like crazy and getting back in the gym and doing what we have to do. Phil and Todd and Brent are all flying up here next week, and we're going to be woodshedding at Metalworks together. And yeah, just seeing the excitement of all my friends and like I said, family, of course, that's made me excited. So it's going to be fun.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of jokes on that bus, I can tell you.
Hey, that keeps the time going,
Yeah,
Really.
it does. It does. Not going to be a party bus. It's going to be a comedy bus.
Yeah. I was really rooting for Edmonton, by the way.
Well, thanks for that.
Stanley
It turned out
Cup
it didn't
should
work.
be in Canada, and I apologize for the Olympics too. I mean, but anyway, Canada is obviously on the brains of many people in America because I've never met a Canadian that, wasn't kind and wasn't good. And it's just one of the most amazing countries also. I've been to shows up there and just have had a wonderful time. So apologies from us down here in California.
No apologies necessary. I got to tell you, I love America. And, any of my Canadian friends that ever have opinions about America, one of the first questions I ask them, I say, well, like, which America do you actually know?
Yeah.
And, if you haven't been to all 50 states, you don't know what you're talking about because it's 50 countries. They're interconnected, but they are 50 different regions, 50 different countries, and 50 different great groups of people. And, we really, Triumph really owes its career to Americans as much or more probably than Canadians. I mean, starting down in Texas, that was what lit the fuse was Texas. And then, Canada kind of picked up right after that. And of course, we've been very successful in Canada. But yeah, all the states, I just love traveling through them. I'm going to enjoy it again. And we start down in Florida. I get to see a lot of my Florida friends and stuff. And the fans are great. Every state. I mean, just great. I always wish they had more album rock stations in the Southeast. Like they did in the Northeast,
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a little harder to get fans in the Carolinas than it is in upstate New York, when you're a hard rock band. But they make up for it in how you play golf. I got a lot of great golf courses down there.
You're going to have a lot of time for that, huh?
I won't have much time for that. Maybe some driving ranges. Like playing takes too much out of you physically. Like I gotta keep practicing. Like when we're on the road, I still have to practice. On practice pads and stuff in the hotels and hit the gyms in the hotels as well. It's just an athletic endeavor. It really is because, it's too late to change our music. I wish we were like the Rolling Stones and I could just, kind of mail it in like this, or the Eagles, but we're not. Power trio, too late.
Yeah.
Have your voices changed at all since the last time you guys toured at all? Like, do you have to change any of the music to kind of adjust to the voices?
Well, a little bit. I mean, we all the bands from our era are pretty much exclusively they tune their guitars down a full step. If they say they don't, they're generally lying. So
True.
we're being upfront about it. Like that's the new normal, right? And what's the big deal? Like you can't really tell the difference if you're in the audience unless you have perfect pitch or something. It makes no difference. Every older band I listen to, I can tell they're not A440 tuning anymore. So what?
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I have to tune the drums lower too.
But vocals, that's got to be a completely different thing. What are you doing to increase that vocal stability and range and just, the rehearsals and all that kind of stuff and touring day after day? I mean, it takes a lot out of you.
Well, hopefully when you get older, you get smarter too. And I mean, the first guy I reached out to, speaking of singers from our tribute album, was Lawrence Gowan from Styx, who's a dear friend.
Great voice.
And phenomenal voice. And he's performed with Triumph as well. Like he was at one of their Hall of Fame inductions and was the lead singer and stuff. And I called him up and I said, "Tell me what I need to do to go back on the road." And he says, "I'm going to give you 3 tips. Tip number 1, you're going to play and sing every day. Tip number 2, you can play and sing every day. Tip number 3, repeat tip number 1 and tip number 2." And then he gave me a whole bunch more tips, but I really took that one to heart. And so, like even sitting here right now in the interviews, like I got a drumstick in my hand all the time and just, rediscovering the instrument for me has been a lot of fun. Like I'm approaching the instrument differently than I ever did. I got a drum coach right away to, kind of compare notes with and talk about, what would be the best things to practice and what would be the best way to, I don't know, enjoy practice. And same thing with vocals. Got a vocal coach. Went back into the well of information and that I learned previously, and kind of get all freshened up on all of those concepts, and start singing in the car again, start singing in my gym, just bring it all back, and learn to enjoy it. It's really been fun.
It's so great. The music of Triumph has always been really special to me. I started out at a station in Anaheim, KZY, then I wound up at KLOS in '83, and we played the hell out of Triumph.
Oh my God.
KLOS. Yeah, I mean, it was just so great, but it's so empowering, and I imagine the connection with the listeners has just got to be so intense with the music that you write.
Yeah, we had to learn if we had a legacy, we had to learn what it was. We had to learn it from our fans. So I found the Triumph fans just to be, back in the day, incredibly loyal. And, we see a lot of people that follow us from show to show to show.
Yeah.
But how that sort of transformed into the modern era, like what we're finding is the commentary that we get from different people and how the music, affected them. And generally, it's more along the lines of we gave them, kind of hope, and we kind of gave them a boost when they needed it, more so than, I danced you at my prom. It's not that, kind of thing that resonates. And so we really looked inside the lyrics too for the same thing. We realized it's the I suppose the ethos of the never surrenders and the follow your hearts and the hold on to your dreams and fight the good fight. It's those kinds of lyrics that I suppose motivated people when they needed motivation. So in terms of our live show, that's again what we're trying to do, is weave that narrative back in there, because we feel like that's what fans want. That's what they've told us. And when you're a young kid and you're writing these songs, I look back at some of the lyrics and I go, that's amazing that, if Rik wrote it, it's amazing that he wrote it. Or if it's some of mine, I even look at some of mine, I go, geez, what was I thinking? Really, am I thinking into the future and what it was going to be like 30 years down the road? And even songs like Allied Forces, for example, which was at the time, I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm writing these lyrics about the fans. And then when you actually read it now, I guess it's metaphorical. You go, well, yeah, you're writing about the fans, but you're also writing in a positive sense. You're not writing. It has nothing to do with the military, even though a lot of my military friends like the song because it has that motif, that military motif. But it's not about the military or war. It's more about, coming together through music.
And
So
it's so important for that younger generation that's going to be there, with their dads or the uncles or, whatever.
Grandpas.
Well, it could be. I mean, it's a whole new generation because, with COVID, what happened then, and just the connection that young kids didn't have. I mean, there's a huge problem. I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but I know in America, it's just, guys don't know how to ask women out, and they're very reticent and they're very shy. And I think that the true spirit of what the music is from Triumph will aid in that. It will really help make the world better. It needs to be heard again.
well, I'm really hoping that we can move the needle, in a positive direction. I mean, there's definitely too much negative rhetoric going around. Like it's um, between the man's inhumanity to man and in the wars and the some of the things they're having, the awful things we're having to witness on a daily basis on the evening news. I think that music has a role in the community and in society, and it has a very, very important role. And that role is one of unification and sharing. And it's kind of like what I say about golf and scotch. There's no such thing as a bad golf course. There's no such thing as bad scotch. Well, I'll add into that. There's no really such bad thing as bad music. There might be music you're not fond of, but I suppose there's bad music if it's poorly performed or poorly crafted or whatever. But you get my gist. I can listen to music that I would not be a fan of per se, but I can enjoy it. And I can enjoy watching other people who like that music. And by the way, when they get to the end of that song that I'm not a fan of, I can go, "Hey, have you ever heard of ZZ Top? Let's play one Gil likes."
Yeah.
I love that. Hey, tell us, Gil, about the US Festival. In '83, you played what was called the Heavy Metal Day, and 500,000 people, an incredible audience. And how did that shape or change you guys or the band as a whole? Like, what did that do for you?
I think it was surreal seeing that number of people there and realizing that, we were in the middle of this, Super Bowl of rock. And, you got kind of, Motley Crue over there and Judas Priest here and Van Halen there. And it's all of this stuff. And we're kind of, your head kind of goes back to when we started and we were practicing in a bowling alley in Mississauga and we hadn't played a gig yet. And we go, what the hell happened? Here we are. Um, so it's a surreal moment. And yet the funny thing is I've been asked, well, like, weren't you scared with that many people? I go, what do I have to be scared about at that point? I was scared when I played a wedding at the Constellation Hotel and there were 75 people and I was the drummer and people are dancing. If I drop my drumstick, the music stops.
Yeah.
That's scared. By the time we're there, you know what? It didn't matter how many 100,000 people. We played at the Tangerine Bowl the day before. It's just like going from Joe's Bar to Joe's Bar. Really no difference. But yeah, this was the biggest Joe's Bar of all time. We'll say that. But we were brimming with confidence. So we were young. We at that point we were young, wild, and free. Now we're young, wild, and not so wild, and kind of know better. But back then,
but smarter.
I played the darn show on rental drums. I can't believe it. Like the drums I was using, they were beautiful. I mean, they were Tamas and everything, but the Tama shipped in there for me. We couldn't get the drums in from Orlando one time, so I'd use rental equipment. I'm like, what were you thinking? Using rental equipment on a show that was that important? I mean, that just shows you confidence. Like, yeah, I can play on anything,
But who would notice besides you anyway? Do you think any of the fans out there were noticing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we had a good day. We got really great reviews over the course of time. I'm talking like still to this day, we just get great reviews on that show. And for us, it was just like we always approach it like a sport. So some of these bands that end up like getting a bit loaded, and then they go out, well, doesn't work out too well. We were backstage, just trying to, loosen up vocal cords and, get the hands moving and stuff like that. And it's totally athletic. That's the way we approached live shows. And I think that came across on that big stage is that, we came to play and play hard.
And I think people really recognized that and saw how connected you guys were, as a band up there and how the sound was so good up there. So
the one thing I need to ask, though, because I've only seen part of the tour listed and I don't see anything in California. I hope that's going to change because I would definitely love to go see Triumph again.
Yeah, well, that's a Live Nation call initially to route the tour the way it was routed. But, they want us to extend the tour.
Right.
And so, we're being, consulted. And I mean, if they don't need to consult us, consult, the fans online. They'll tell you where the dates should be. And you're damn right. Like California has been like an outcry from the West Coast, particularly California, but other regions too. Like places like Cleveland and Pittsburgh up here in the Northeast that'd be like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
You're playing Detroit, but you're not playing Cleveland, or you're not playing Indianapolis, which was like in Cincinnati, like which were just great cities. Or Western New York, Rochester, we played Buffalo, but you didn't play Rochester. Well, there were only so many dates on the tour. That's the answer. But I think the idea would be if we go back out, if this run, everybody's happy and everything's rolling and things, then the idea would be we'd go back to all those other cities. And I'd like to honestly, Rita, I felt that the band. I thought the one thing that was really great about the way that we, as a young band, kind of grew up in America was that we went and played all the tertiary markets, and now with sort of Spotify and internet and globalization and all this stuff, you see a lot of this. Oh, we're going to play for 5 shows here, and we're going to play 5 shows over there, and like just book an airline ticket and come and see us. Yeah, you save a lot of money on the production doing it that way, but are you really servicing the fans?
No.
Like I can't wait to play Green Bay, Wisconsin, to be honest with you. I can't wait to play Saginaw, Michigan or Battle Creek. I'd love to play Fresno tomorrow. Or Bakersfield,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's not forget San Bernardino. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like so many of these smaller cities. I mean, they were so good to us, as well as the New Yorks and the LAs and the Dallases and so on and so forth. There's all these things. Think of West Texas. When I see El Paso on the news, all I can think back is Ector County Coliseum. The building's still there, and how many great shows we had in El Paso. So I don't forget those smaller cities. I'd love to see if we can get back out to play more of those, as well as picking up the big markets that we missed.
Yeah.
Very cool. I know we're at the end of our time. Do you have a couple more minutes, Gil, or you?
Yeah, I do. I'm fine.
Okay. I had a question I'm just making sure I read this right, but you donated music and business archives to the University of Toronto?
We did.
And so does that mean like all your rights to your music?
No, it just means the physical artifacts.
So everything in your attic that you showed on the documentary, the box of mobiles and all the T-shirts and all that stuff is going to the library. That's really cool.
No, that's the residual. Otherwise, we'd need 3 warehouses. So,
do you still have all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
My wife calls me a hoarder at times.
Me too.
But the funny thing is, like I always told her, I said, "Don't worry, I have lots of room at Metalworks. We have 50,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Like I can be a hoarder. I can get away with it." So she said, "Well, why are you keeping all this stuff?" And I said, "Because, well, first of all, it makes me feel good sometimes looking back. Secondly, I can't throw out stuff that to me reminds me of like a certain show, a radio station, a tour, or whatever." There's the obvious stuff you keep, like gold records and that, but I kept a lot of the smaller stuff as well. And so what we donated to U of T in 2011, we were just like overflowing, and they approached us and said, "We're creating a music archive in the media commons, and we'd love to have Triumph. We've got Rush, and we'd love to have you guys in there." So we said, "Sure." And they put together, oh my God, a tractor trailer load of boxes. But there's still, even then, there's still so much more stuff, which I guess eventually we'll probably do like a second donation to U of T at some point, but we'll have to see how that plays out.
That's really cool. Really cool.
Excellent. I could talk to you all day, about your business model. I mean, you're really the steam engine of the band. All the things that you did in the beginning, the way that your brain worked, the way that Mike's brain worked with the record companies. It was just a beautiful thing to watch and evolve. And I'm just so happy you guys are going back out on the road. It's just going to be such a positive thing that, the world
thanks,
needs
Rita.
right
That's
now.
Nice of you to say that. Yeah.
But, it's honest, man. It's honest.
Well, we started up here, and I don't know, and maybe there's something about in Canada and looking at America being the big dog, and if we can somehow make it in America, we did have that. All our musician friends all felt the same way, that it'd be great to make it in your hometown, but it'd be really amazing if you could get across the border and make it in America. That'd really be something. And a lot of bands don't. A lot of Canadian bands that actually broke big in Canada, like never really were able to connect with American audiences. So I'm very grateful to American audiences for letting us in, and like open arms. We never had any kind of like resistance or pushback to our music or our stage presentation in America. It was open arms all the way through, starting in San Antonio, and
Yeah.
never looked back.
Okay, Gil, quickly, the bonus round, we're just going to throw some crazy, wacky questions to you.
Sure.
Excluding your band, who was the first rock star you met?
Met or saw? The saw was Jimi Hendrix.
Really?
Whoa.
Yeah. Met.
Wow.
That's a good one. Uh, I don't know who the first one was. I'll tell you one that I love meeting was Leslie West from Mountain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
One of the guitar players that I mean, I just absolutely love Leslie's playing. It's kind of like Billy Gibbons. Those two guys to me as rock players. I was a blues musician before Triumph, so I relate back to,
Wow.
the previous generation of musicians, that influenced so many rock bands, the Albert Kings and so on, as far as guitar, and Al Jackson from Booker T and the MGs. That was the first drummer that ever really influenced me before John Bonham. So those were kind of influences. I didn't get to meet a lot of my heroes, to be honest with you. When we got on the road, I mean, you're kind of in your own cocoon when you're on the road. But obviously I met Leslie, and he was just, I don't know how to describe Leslie. What a great guy he was, and he was so funny. Like, he came, and so was Corky Lang. I mean, he came across the Canadian border once, and Corky told me this story years later. Leslie was a tad vulgar from time to time, and he's coming across the border, and they get across the border, and he's typical Leslie. He's in a grumpy mood. He looks over at Corky. He goes, "I fucking hate Canada. You fucking think illegal fucking Canada's fucking Gil Moore." So I was like, what a great compliment, you know? I'm the only thing about Canada he liked. That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I wish he was still with us, man. He was really an unbelievable guitarist. Nobody could bend a note like Leslie West.
Canada used to have what they called the needle time, 35% needle time was Canadian content. Is that still true today?
I don't even know. I don't keep tabs on the rules, but I should know the answer to that, because at times the industry taps me to be sort of an artist advocate, so I should know the answer. I think we do have Canadian content regulations. I think they may have migrated a little bit over the years, but
maybe it's not 35%, maybe it's 20% or something like that.
I know it's been controversial, and I've heard some Canadian artists say they shouldn't have had it, or it was a bad idea. I personally think it was a good idea. I think it helped. It's like a little bit of fertilizer, on the young Canadian bands, that help them get a little toehold in their own territory, and give them the courage to go and take on the rest of the world. So I think it was a good thing.
Second part is, what would you tell somebody who was like you, just a young guy that had such a vivid imagination? You could have gone a number of ways. You could have gone into electronics, or computers nowadays, or whatever, because of the way that your mind works. But you chose music. What would you tell somebody who wants to follow in your footsteps and be a musician, knowing what you know now and how much it's changed?
Well, I would say this, that you can't miss if you decide to make music a hobby. It's the greatest hobby you'll ever have, because you can do it forever, and it'll bring you a lot of joy. If you decide to follow my footsteps and be a professional, it's like any other industry. There's snakes and ladders for sure, all the way through it. And my advice to anyone that wants to do it is, first of all, make sure you're actually good, and it's not just your mom and your dad telling you you're good. You got to actually get some people that are on, and it can be the crowd at Joe's bar, but somebody has to tell you you're good. Sometimes what I see with young musicians is they get sort of over encouraged by the family, and they led into a false sense of complacency, where they think, well, my grandmother thinks I'm great, but well, your grandmother's not she can be the only one to buy your music. The biggest thing that I've learned is, don't emulate. Like, you need to have a signature, and in that respect, the industry is kind of misleads you in a way because typically what the industry does, and this is just the record industry, this is the fashion industry or whatever, they see a trend like somebody breaks and whoever it is, let's just say you're talking about Taylor Swift, for example, and they go, oh, well, we just need more artists that are just like Taylor Swift. Well, no, you don't. Like all that oxygen, right, got sucked out of the room by her. And rightly so, that's her space, you know. So I think that, she had to be who she was before she was who she was, if that makes any sense. And if you look at all the bands, starting with, the Beatles, they had their signature. Beatles weren't like somebody else. They didn't copy somebody else. And, the Stones were this, the sort of a counterpart or a different style, but they came from the same place and they were rowdy young guys. But were the Stones like the Beatles? No.
No.
The Beatles like the Stones? No. I think that principle is still there. Like most of the really great artists that I see come along, like I remember when I first heard Chris Stapleton. Like I think he might have uttered like 4 words, and I looked over at my wife and I said, "I love this guy."
Yeah, yeah.
It was so instantaneous, and I went, "You can't bottle charisma like that." Now, not everybody maybe likes Chris Stapleton. I'm just speaking myself.
He's great guitarist and singer.
Yeah. Or back to bands like I mentioned, ZZ Top, one of my favorite bands. I mean, find another band that's ZZ Top-ish. There isn't one.
Very good.
And then I think we didn't know I don't think any band really knows what they're doing until there's a body of work, and then they look in the rear view and they go, oh, I guess this was what we were meant to do or what we were able to create or whatever the case may be. And I think that's back to we were talking earlier about with Triumph fans, they've actually told us what the band meant. It's not up to Mike and Gil and Rik to say what Triumph meant or whether we were any good, whether our music mattered or didn't matter or whatever. It's up to people to decide that. It's, the fans, the listeners, and their opinions are the ones that count.
And don't sign to RCA.
You know what? You can look, if you look back, and a lot of artists do this, they look back and then they blame labels that they think didn't sell enough of their product or didn't promote them properly. But you know what? History's littered with stories like that, like why this didn't happen and why that didn't happen. And I've never met anybody that really was successful that didn't suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. So to me, it's like one door closes, another door opens, and that's the way you have to approach life.
Yeah.
If it was a primrose path, if we were all on the stairway to heaven and not on the highway to hell, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that. Yeah. Okay, one more real quick. I know you've had a lot of crazy things happen in your career and with the band. What is the craziest Spinal Tap moment that you recall from the 50 years of this band?
Man, there's so many of them. I could make a whole documentary about Spinal Tap. Oh, that's a real can of worms you just opened there. Oh, geez. Well, okay, I'll tell you one. So when we were a fledgling club band, so we were in our very, very first tour. So the band had probably played 10 high school dances or church basements or something like that. And this agent in Ontario approached us and said, I'm going to toughen you guys up. I'm going to send you to Northern Ontario. You're going to play a bunch of bars, where it's all full of miners and strippers. So we went, great. Do we get free pierogies? And so we sort of, we was like the Beverly Hillbillies, and Jed, and he gathered up and we're going to Beverly. And so that's Mike and Rik and I. Up we go, and we start playing up there. And we had no money, but we had these grandiose ideas about like lighting effects and things we were going to do that no one else did. And so we had built this gizmo. We called it a mirror wheel. And how we built it was we took a circle of plywood, and one of our roadies got an antenna rotor, a used antenna rotor. I don't know how he got it, because back in those days, antennas had a rotor. He put the motor on the back of this piece of plywood. We smashed a mirror and put all the broken mirror on with glue on the wood. And then we put the whole thing up on a stand. So you had this thing that was about, 4 feet across, that was a bunch of broken mirrors, and it would kind of turn like a big bend, like a slow clock. It would do this. And we had a spotlight, even though bands that were like at our level didn't have a spotlight.
Yeah.
Triumph had one. Yeah. And so our crew member who ran the spotlight, we said, okay, so at this point, when we're doing Stairway to Heaven, and Rik says, na, 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 boom, you hit this thing, and it will refract all this light around the bar, and everyone will go crazy. And it worked like a charm. The only thing was, it was held on not with a proper clip. It was held on with a bent nail. So I guess it's going around like this, and Rik is singing, and then at a certain point, the bent nail lets go, and the mirror wheel falls off of the stand. And when it lands on its edge. A few of the mirrors pop off, and it rolls because it was sort of stage left, so it was in front of where Mike Levine was, and it kind of rolls like this, slowly across the dance floor. And then when it gets right to like center ice, like right in front of where Rik is singing, it kind of does this whoa, 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 and it is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And Rik Emmett never missed a beat, kept singing the song. That was it.
And nobody died.
Final Tap moment.
Yeah. And the drummer didn't die.
Yeah.
As opposed to Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I think we should release a video called Triumph's Greatest Spinal Tap Moments. You've given me an inspiration here.
Do you have that on video?
No, this was like, you're talking 1975.
Yeah,
well,
sorry.
You guys used to put sparklers on the guitars too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw another band do that. We didn't steal that off anyone. We just...
That's great.
Oh, man.
The guitar, that was one of my early cheap and cheerful pyro moves.
Yeah. That's great, man.
You were the one to come up with that creative stuff. So congratulations. And I really hope we see you out on the West Coast. Yes. And I can't wait to see what pyro magic you've come up with for this tour.
Yes, well, I'll make sure I'm not arrested, so I'll be there.
Yeah, it'd be good if the whole band was together for the shows.
Yeah, you don't want ice showing up, man.
Yeah. That's great. Gil, thank you, man, so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And it's great to see you. And we're so jazzed that the band is coming back for a tour. Knock on wood, we see you out here.
Thanks a lot, CW. And Rita, thanks for having me on. It's been a blast kicking these old stories around and having some fun here.
Right on.
You've been so amazing and so nice and so giving of your time. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see the tour. Best of luck. Have so much fun, okay?
We will. Thank you so much.
I'll see you on the road, man. Thank you so much.
See you on the trail.
So cool. What a cool, really cool guy. Like I usually say people are really nice, but Gil was amazing.
It's so exceptional. I mean, I used to listen to him when they were on Rockline a lot with Bob Coburn, and Bob Coburn was always saying, "Oh man, just such great guys" and stuff like that. And Bob, of course, couldn't have lied about that, not at all, because he was just such a true person. And then we mentioned Bob, and it was like, he lit up. It was like, oh my God, Bob Coburn, yeah. So it was really special, and I just so thoroughly enjoyed him, like you did, as a human being.
Yeah.
Just such a great guy.
What a great grounded guy that no pressure, but yet he's doing everything he can to get this tour, up and running and the practice rehearsals, working out of the gym and things like that, but God, it's such a great, nice guy.
Yeah. So and I can't
go hang with him. Let's go hang with him.
Gotta hope that and I'm sure the tour will come out here, but I can't wait.
Special thanks to Chip Ruggieri and Brett Metalli for coordinating the interview. Triumph's website, which includes upcoming tour dates and ticket information, is triumphmusic.com.
Check out the documentary Triumph Rock and Roll Machine, available now on Amazon Prime. That was really well done, really well put together. You can check out our show notes on our website, rockandrollconfessional.rocks, ROCKS. There you can find links to some of the subjects talked about in today's show, links to the upcoming tour and tickets, amazing videos, and some great archival photos.
And please, we always ask, and we'll always ask, we'll keep asking, please support the podcast just by subscribing wherever you can. That's either on Instagram or Facebook, and write a review if you don't mind. And pass the show on to a friend. One friend, if you can pass it on to one rock and roll pal, that would be amazing. We really appreciate it. So any parting words while Mercury's still in retrograde, Reeds?
No, just, breathe in, breathe, believe, trust, and, a lot going on in the world, but we got to believe that, this is all going to be okay. It's just Mercury in retrograde.
Right on. Okay, everybody. Take care out there. Bye-bye.
Bye.